The center is moving to change how election commissioners and the chief election commissioner is appointed. I'm Barkha Dutt, here with the Mojo story. In moments from now, our newsmaker today will be the former chief election commissioner of India, S.Y. Quraishi. But before we talk to him, let's put this story in context. Here's what's happened. Earlier this year, the Supreme Court verdict decided, and this verdict came from a constitutional bench, that three people, a three-member selection committee, would be responsible for choosing the members of an election commission. This would include the Prime Minister, the Leader of the Opposition, and the Chief Justice of India. A proposed legislation has now been brought to Parliament, which will drop the Chief Justice from the selection panel and replace him or her with a cabinet minister instead. Now, it's important to contextualize this. Before the Supreme Court verdict, actually, there was no process of law that was laid down as to how to appoint election commissioners. But why has the government moved to modify this particular formula and model presented by the Supreme Court? And what might be the impact and the concerns in an election year? Let's go across now to our guest for the evening. Dr. S.Y. Quraishi is with us. Let's welcome him to the program. Dr. Quraishi has been writing and speaking a lot about the need for an autonomous election commission, the need for an election commission with teeth that can both bite and bark, metaphorically speaking. That is, Quraishi Saab, thank you for joining us. Let me start by asking you, what is this proposed legislation, of course, seeks to change a verdict from a constitutional bench. What is your response to this proposed change?
Barkha, I think it is a mixed bag. There are very negative things and there are very good positive things, and I'll take you through them. First of all, this bill is in compliance of the Supreme Court order that you should have a bill. Till then, they had an interim arrangement with a collegium with Chief Justice in it. Now, government is going to have a collegium which they never had for the last 75 years, 70 years. All right. So, to that extent, it is in compliance. Yet, they are removing the Chief Justice and replacing him with a cabinet minister, which actually will make a mockery of a collegium, because these two together will always overrule the leader of opposition. He will always be outnumbered. And in fact, I remember reading some time ago Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary's statement where he mentioned various instances where he was very badly treated in the collegium and overruled. He was asked for information which was not given and the way he was treated. So actually that was making a mockery of the collegium system. Now, I have a solution to that. One that although it is 2-1, naturally inbuilt, but if the decision is made compulsorily unanimous, they have to agree on one person. So that will take care of that thing. Now, between the Chief Justice and a leader of opposition, I definitely prefer the leader of opposition to be in the collegium, because that creates more credibility, because he knows the officers and he is involved in the election process. Chief Justice may be an expert of law, but he doesn't know any bureaucrat. And all that he would know the record which is presented to him. And from Mr. Chaudhary's account, hardly anything is presented. And thirdly, many people have been questioning the collegium system, because even when in the collegium, when Chief Justice is there, what kind of appointments have been made? You know, the director of CBI, there was one director of CBI against whom there was a charge by the IB, no less, that a criminal went to his house 183 times. Now, he was appointed by a collegium with a Chief Justice in it. So, therefore, Chief Justice's presence is no guarantee. LOP, the presence is a guarantee, but provided he is not marginalized, and for which I am offering you a solution. Now, second good thing, Barkha, which has been a good thing which has been introduced, is the shortlisting committee, headed by the cabinet secretary with 2 secretaries. There will be 5 members. Now, they're trying to undercut that this committee can overrule those 5 and bring in the 6th. That is making a mockery of this committee. I mean, that is too clever by half. That is absolutely undesirable. If cabinet secretary and 2 others have selected 5 people after and presented the shortlist, surely the All those five are secretaries to Government of India. That is another good thing, that qualifications have been prescribed. For 70 years, there was no qualification for appointment to this post. You could have picked up anybody from the street and appointed him. It's a good thing that the government has been only taking the bureaucrats, because they have handled the election throughout their life. Now,
Right.
Secretary to Government of India, Barkha, out of 100 people appointed to IAS, at the after 35 years, only 6, 7 make it to the level of secretary. All of them are brilliant. All of them are good. From where five are selected, surely there will be one in those five where all three will agree. So the system of shortlisting is good, qualification is good, but make it a unanimous decision. That is
So
extremely
let
important.
so let me understand a few things. One, it's important to explain to our audience that before the Supreme Court order, there was actually no legislative process for how to appoint members of the Election Commission. So you welcome the fact that there is now a law being brought in. That's the good part. Secondly, you don't have a per se problem with the Chief Justice being dropped from the selection panel. You actually would much rather, if one had to choose a leader of opposition over the chief justice being on the selection panel, because you think the leader of opposition is interacting with those who actually have to run elections. Point two. Point three, your concern is right now the way the selection panel is stacked up, there are two government members, which is the prime minister and a cabinet minister, and only one leader of the opposition. So your solution is the decision should be unanimous. This should be one
Yes.
thing in the bill, that nobody can be chosen unless all three people agree.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So you don't mind that the Chief Justice has been dropped from the selection panel?
Yeah, because there was another question that used to be raised earlier, the conflict of interest, in the sense that here the Chief Justice is part of appointment of a, and that same appointment gets challenged in the Supreme Court. There, he will sit in judgment over that appointment, or if he, even if he recuses himself, his junior judges will be sitting in judgment. So that creates an awkward situation. And finally, because Chief Justice actually is not familiar with the bureaucracy and the personal knowledge, and these days, for the last 7, 8 years, evaluations is the annual confidential report of every officer is done by 360-degree evaluation. Seniors, juniors, colleagues, peers, everybody is interviewed to know who is who and who is what. So therefore, to know such people, and leader of opposition will know, because all these people have been in the field, he has dealt with them, and a leader of opposition choice should be respected. He should not be marginalized. There have to be an inbuilt safeguard. And obviously, Supreme Court may not like this bill, but at least they can compensate by introducing what I'm suggesting to you. Make it unanimous decision.
Yeah,
Surely it will.
I think that's a very good suggestion. But also to put it into context, when the Supreme Court's constitutional bench came with this verdict, it was also a time when the government was almost at battle with the judiciary over how judges are appointed. And I think a lot of us thought that maybe the court was also drawing a red line, saying if you're going to interfere in how people in our domain are appointed, we also can interfere in some of the appointments you make. Now, my question to you, Qureshi Saab, is explain this committee. Why do you think this committee of the shortlisting committee might potentially make a mockery of an autonomous election commission?
No, the committee will not make a mockery. Committee, the idea is brilliant,
You're
because
saying that the panel can overrule the shortlist. Is that what you're
overruled.
saying?
Yeah. If they
Yes.
overrule, okay, they will pick up from these five. But if they want, they can take a sixth man from outside. That is absolute nonsensical. That has to be ruled out. So what is this then? I mean, make a short list of, if not five, make it seven, make it 10, but go from the short list, because the cabinet secretary and two secretaries will make sure that out of as it is, every secretary is a brilliant guy. Every secretary is a man of integrity, otherwise, he would not have become secretary. So,
Hmm.
from very bright, good people, if you are shortlisting five, chances are that they should be acceptable to a leader of opposition. At least one of the five will be acceptable, if not all five.
Let me ask you a last question. Now, technically, this has come from a constitutional bench of the Supreme Court, and in its verdict, the Supreme Court said that till there is a process, we are asking for this process to be followed. But the Supreme Court, I don't know how it would take to the Chief Justice having been dropped. We can't anticipate what the Supreme Court would take. Do you see this becoming a major point of battle between the government and the courts?
Well, it can, because there will be more ego issue there. if the Chief Justice and the Supreme Court feel that the intention is not to slight the Chief Justice, but for the reasons which are voiced publicly. Many people have questioned the quality of selections done by the same collegium, and as I mentioned, the CBI, the directors. Do you think they've covered themselves with glory?
Hmm.
When Chief Justice was a part of it. Therefore, it is better for Chief Justice to keep himself out of this, and it is better for him to sit in judgment on the quality when finally the recruitment is made and it is challenged in the Supreme Court. They should sit in judgment there. That will be better. So with
That's
the yeah.
Yeah, that's a very important point, that it's better for the Chief Justice to have some distance from the process. So when there are disputes or challenges or appeals that come to the court can be dispassionate. Finally, Qureshi Sahab, you said that the way to make this process a fair one is to ask for a unanimous opinion. But why not ask for a third member who does not represent either the government or the opposition?
Yeah, it is possible, but then I thought to myself, and maybe you can suggest, who can that be?
I don't
Speaker?
know. Yeah.
Speaker is a political man. Vice
Yes.
President of India, he is a political man. We have seen
Yes.
what's happening in Parliament. Who will that be? So it is very difficult to find that such a person. But therefore, but unanimity will take care of that, and it's a very easy, doable thing to do. And actually, you said finally, but I have two final things to
Yes.
say, if you
Please.
permit.
Please.
So
Please.
there is one very good positive thing which is proposed in this, which is being missed by in the debate, and there is a negative thing. Now the positive thing is that some for 20 years we have been demanding that the removal process of all the three commissioners should be identical. While Chief Election Commissioner is protected from removal except through impeachment by the Constitution, the other two can be removed very easily. Now, believe me, the other two commissioners often feel they are on probation. They are looking over their shoulder. Is the government happy with me? Will they elevate me to CEC post or not? And through them, the CEC can be manipulated. Therefore, now the equal protection which has been suggested is a brilliant move which we have been demanding, and very quietly it has been inserted. That's something which should be lauded and appreciated. And
Mm.
finally, there is one thing negative about which I'm concerned personally, that the position of the election commissioner has been downgraded. Now,
Mm.
before the administration and before 1991, the rank of a CEC was at the of a secretary to the government, and he was also treated like an undersecretary to the law ministry. So those things are behind. In 1991, through the act, they were equated with the judges of the Supreme Court. Now they have been equated with the cabinet secretary. Now here there is a very interesting catch. In salary, cabinet secretary and Supreme Court judge has the same salary, but in status and in warrant of precedence, there is a lot of difference. So, the downgrading the election commission, we are a wish guru in election. We had set up a training institute in election commission where in 10 years, 110 countries and commissioners have trained from us. We are the wish guru, and you are downgrading that wish guru to a lower level of a bureaucrat. So that is something which I think has crept in by mistake. I'm sure it is not deliberate. If it is unfortunate. But if it is a mistake, if it is oversight, that should be corrected.
I think that's a very interesting point, and I have to confess I had missed that concern. So I thank you for flagging it. Finally, do you therefore feel that this bill needs a lot more debate before it
Yes,
is before
yes,
it is
indeed.
passed
Yes,
in
indeed.
Parliament?
Correct. Considering that I mentioned two, three concerns, so how will they come into consideration except through debate? They should be debated, and these corrections should be made.
Well, thank you for flagging these issues, and I very much hope, because of the no confidence motion, actually, right now this bill did not get kind of the movement that it may have otherwise. And now with all of these points that have been flagged, and they're very interesting because the first response in the media was Chief Justice ko hatana galat hai, and you're actually saying that part is okay, but there are other concerns that are actually much more grave and compelling and need our attention. Thank you, Quraishi Sahab. Always a pleasure. Take care. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.